So thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Lisa Wranglin. I currently serve as president for the Rhode Island Black Business Association. And I'm here as well as a woman that has been in corporate America for the last close to 20 years. So Senator Goodwin, thank you so much for sponsoring this bill. It is a very important bill. And when I look around this room, I don't see that many people that looks like me. And when I think of where we are and looking at the numbers as it relates to the inequity, as it relates to what we're seeing from joblessness, impact to families, impact to community, I see this a bill that makes perfect sense. I think it's a win-win for Rhode Island. I think it's a win-win for all of us. So let me talk about when I started my career very early on. I remember when I was heading into college and I wanted to study computer science, I was told it's not a girl's field, never mind a black girl's field. And when I started my career as a computer programmer, and I found out I got to this amazing bank and I knew that I would have this awesome career path. And then I realized that, wait, there's not that many people that looks like me. And I remember when I was asked to share what my salary expectation would be. Keep in mind, I was coming from a factory early on before that where my salary or maybe my hourly wage was about $3.75. So think about a young woman coming out of college, enter into corporate America, and she's asked to, what would you like to make? So think about that span. So I started my career in the banking world making $45,000. And keep in mind, I had a computer science degree. I'm sure most of the guys there probably were making about $70,000. And after a long time in the banking world, of course, I excelled, and still I was underpaid. And underpaid where I was not allowed to talk to other associates what they were making. I was not allowed to know what others are making, but I knew that they had this very large range, and it just was not working for women of color, never mind me, an island girl. But when I start looking at families, as a woman, a single mom, a divorced woman with a child, and I knew that I was underpaid, and I wanted to ensure that my child would have the best education. But not just me, I am speaking for women of color that looks like me, that most likely won't have the opportunity to share their story. When I look at the facts, the number that talks about white women making 82 cents, I believe it says on the dollar that a white guy makes, and a woman of color, a black woman, makes 59 cents, and a Latina woman makes 50 cents. So let's peel the onion back a little bit. If we're the head of the household in this amazing home, we're raising our children, and we're underpaid, we probably have to have multiple jobs. So it has a direct impact not just on our families, it impacts our children. When we talk about urban children are not learning, well, all of this has a domino effect on the family. So this is not just a nice thing to do. This is a critical bill that I think should be passed. It is a no-nonsense kind of bill that says, let's get the job done. But when you think about what this bill is going to do as it relates to your history, again, we talked about black and brown women and people of color are really below the pay scale. So if they're asked to share their work history, as I mentioned, I was way down the food chain. I was really tagged in my role as a high strong performer. I had been a very high performer for a very long time. Exceed, and again, somebody shared the story about you have this range and there's one person may be able to get this, top dollar from either merit increase or what have you. And I'm not here to necessarily talk about what some person got or what didn't get, but what I think it's very important to have a level playing field. A level playing field where all of us, regardless of race, regardless of gender or any of that sort, you should be compensated for equal work, equal pay. It's that simple. So it's really troubling for me in many ways. But when I look at 59 cents, 50 cents for a woman of color, Latino and Black women, and when I think of the families, when I think of the numbers that talks about how poorly our children is doing, but we expect them to do well. When mom and dad isn't there and mom and dad has multiple jobs, we still are expecting our children to do extremely well. All of this really impacts family. It impacts our entire community. It has a direct impact on the state's economy. I see this as the right thing to do. I see this as a bill that we should just do it, right? It is the right thing to do. We want to ensure that people in Rhode Island are really doing amazing. And if we're going to be doing amazing, when my daughter enters the workforce come October at Ernst & Young, I don't want to know that some guy that has a master's degree like she does is going to make more money than her. So this is not just about me or women that's currently in the workforce, but it's about young women. I have a daughter that's graduating from URI with a master's degree in May, and I want to ensure that when she gets to EY in Boston, and she shouldn't have to leave Rhode Island, right, to get a job, so that's another issue that we also need to fix. But when she enters the workforce, if this bill is passed, Rhode Island or Mass or wherever, in Rhode Island in particular, she will be able to not talk about her work history because currently her part-time job is working in the mall. So if you look at that from a salary perspective, she's going to start way down the food chain if she said, oh, I was making whatever she makes, right? So the work history is critical to families, young people coming out of college, young women that are, I say, really marginalized in the workforce. As a woman, a high performer in the banking world, I was passed over for opportunities that I know if I was at a certain level from a pay scale, I would have been bumped up. So think about how much money that I've lost, close to 20 years in banking. And I consider myself underpaid. So think of that adverse impact on my family. If I was being paid for what I'm actually for the work that I'm doing, then I would not just be impacting my family, I would have more money to spend, so it would be impactful for my broader community, but also the overall state's economy. And looking at that globally and broadly for all families, I really urge the body and the committee to consider this bill as a bill that it's not just a women's right? This is a bill where it's a win-win for all of us, all Rhode Islanders, not just women. I see mostly women in this room, but it's all of us. It's for our daughters or granddaughters, for everyone from Black male that are underrepresented in the workforce as well. So again, thank you so very much for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. I came late, so I'm not sure of the time frame, but again, thank you for giving me the space to be here to share. Any questions?